Atari's fourth arcade release, after Pong Space Race and Pong Doubles, Gotcha began development in July of 1973. Atari, wanting to separate themselves from their competitors, set about creating something very different and innovative. Not just another Pong clone like all those that were beginning to flood the market. So fresh from release of Space Race, Atari's first non-Pong related game, Alan Alcorn took control. Alcorn actually already had an idea for the game. While testing Pong, yes, the game Atari were trying to get away from, the game Alcorn himself had actually designed, he spotted a defect. If part of the circuit that converted scores to images on screen was faulty or broken, then parts of those numbers would then be scattered across the screen. After some research, Alcorn decided to combine the defect intentionally with a motion-controlled circuit and thus create dynamically changing mazes. Just like that, the world's first maze arcade game had been created, and it was one that would cause considerable amounts of controversy. Gotcha would become a two-player game in which one player attempts to catch the other with the maze composed of a repeating pattern of elements in multiple columns on screen. The maze itself would continually change as one player, the pursuer, identified by a square, chases another, the pursued, represented by a plus sign. When the pursued is caught, the maze would disappear briefly with the pursuer receiving a point before being moved to a random position on the right hand side of the screen. This would continue for a round of 30 seconds to 2 minutes until a winner was decided. Game created, the idea for its cabinet design was handed over to Atari product designer George Faraco. He'd previously designed other cabinets, including the ill-fated Space Race fiberglass one, a tall angular fiberglass cab that Nolan Bushnell, Atari's co-founder, liked so much that he even considered using it for Pong as well. It was the first arcade cabinet to display Atari's logo, but ultimately production costs proved too expensive and only 50 units were made before the design was dropped and they switched back to a more traditional rectangular one. Bushnell even came out later and stated that the moulds to make the fiberglass versions cost $2,000 each, and because of their intricate shape could only make one a day. Atari felt the cost just didn't justify the end result. Reagan Chang, one of Faraco's fellow designers, is quoted as stating that Faraco had some pretty far out ideas. How far out they were about to see. For the longest time there has been a joke in the gaming community that arcade joysticks resemble phalluses, and because the game was meant to represent a young woman being chased by a mysterious man through a maze, Faraco felt it was as good a time as any to reverse the stereotype. He would design the joysticks with a nod to the fairer sex. The result was a joystick for each player, which was surrounded by a pink squishy dome the players would rest their hands on and or squeeze to control the game. In short, they were meant to resemble breasts. Faraco admitted they didn't have bumps on them or anything like that. They were the size of grapefruits next to each other. You got the impression of what they were supposed to be. Alas, even though his breast-like controllers would reappear in yellow in the prototype version of 1974's Touch Me, much like his ill-fated Space Race cabinet, Gotcha's cab was changed shortly into its production one, and the joystick dome covers were removed. Despite two additional versions of Gotcha being released, one with a tinted overlay, another a true multicolour version with red, green and blue, and the fact that this was believed to be the first colour arcade game ever made, Gotcha released to a lukewarm reception and was not a commercial success, even though about 3,000 units were thought to have been sold. Pong, Atari's own creation and success, is largely associated with its downfall, as the Pong clone phenom continued to flood the market. Gotcha would eventually see success in the 2600, rebranded as the highly popular Maze Craze, in which policemen chase a robber through a maze. They even added features like extra sounds, graphics and adjustable speed. Despite its newfound success under a new name, Gotcha will remain nothing more than a topic of controversy and is now affectionately remembered by those in the gaming community as the Booby Game.